morning. It is Charles Van Morgan, the Charles Van Morgan Show. So come on in. We got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about what's on a lot of people's mind. Don't be distracted. It's called affordability. We're going to talk about affordability. Who's at fault? Why are the prices so high for you to go eat? We're gonna point the blame. We're going to show you who's to blame for the affordability crisis. Now, the news media and a lot of the pundits, a lot of the liars, a lot of politicians would like to distract you, but it's hard to live nowadays. Why is that? Just the natural progression of things? You think it's a progression of things for things to continue to get worse and worse? No, it's not a natural progression. It is by design. And we're going to explain to you today about the affordability crisis. We're going to tell you specifically who I think personally is to blame for the affordability crisis. And it's not who you think. We're going to tell you the truth. Unbridled news. Charles Van Morgan, join me. We're going to tell you about the problem and what causes the problem with facts, even newspaper articles. So come on in. Affordability. You want to be able to eat? Come on in and listen, and I'll tell you how we can be able to afford to eat and who's ripping us off, who's stealing all the money, who's got more money than they know what to do with, and what we can do about them, about the criminaloids. So let me show you a picture of something that'll be of importance later on in the video, but I'm going to show you the importance of, I'm going to show you Calhoun's on the river right here. Calhoun's on the river. Right down here. There is the Calhoun's on the river. Right there's a restaurant called Calhoun's on the river. It is a restaurant here in Knoxville, right under the bridge there. Calhoun's on the river. Now that's important. That is an important location where a fraudster stole your money and resources and your tax money at that restaurant right there. Now the newspaper doesn't report it that way, but I'll report it that way because I'm the unbridled news. I'm not bridled or in fear of government corruption, of government thieves. So that is Calhoun's on the river. That's important. Mark that down. Draw a circle around that location. That's where a fraud took place. And no one paid substantially. That's where a part of your tax money was used. We'll explain that later. And then we'll look over here at another location. These places, and I'll explain to you. That is University of Tennessee football stadium. And that is Thompson Bowling Arena. Thompson Bowling Arena, right there, where another fraud took place. Another fraud took place. So those are important locations that are significant in your affordability issue. Now, this is just one example of one person that's committing a mass fraud on society. That's committing a mass fraud. Look at the beautiful view of the Tennessee River. That's just one instance, two different places of one person that's committing a mass fraud that's causing your affordability, causing what you go buy groceries, your rent, your cost of living to go up astronomically, while they benefit personally from making things harder and more difficult on you. They actually get more money the harder they make it on you, the more they rip you off, people in government power, the more they benefit. So what's in it for them to make things more affordable for you? Nothing. Nothing. They don't care. They're ruthless scoundrels. So just like Clint Eastwood. This is Unbridled News with Charles Van Morgan. Welcome. Come on in. Just like Clint Eastwood in the Unforgiven, in the movie. You know, Bill was out looking for him. He's a government person, and he was out looking for Clint Eastwood in the Unforgiven. And the government's out looking for me. And because they're ripping people off, and I'm telling the truth. And he walks in the bar where they were getting a posse together to go out and look for Clint Eastwood. So the government's looking for a posse. They had a posse out looking for me to go look for me. Well, Clint Eastwood went in the bar and he said, "Who's the owner of this shithole?" And one of them said, pointed to the bartender, and he shot the bartender. And the other guy, one of them said, "Well, you just shot an unarmed man." And Clint Eastwood told him he should have armed himself before he decorated his bar with my friend Ned. And I'm not talking about shooting anybody with bullets or any kind of violence. What I'm talking about is symbolically shooting them with votes, voting them out. So not nothing violent. This is just a movie I'm talking about. So FBI, TBI, you know, you have no reason to get me. We're talking about Clint Eastwood in the movie. So they're looking for him, and he shows up right in the middle of them. So the state government, people in state power thought they had me on the run. I'm showing up right here in the middle of them. So I'm right here in the middle of them, and I'm getting ready to shoot them with votes, with information, knowledge, not violence, with information to the public. So I'm not running from them. I'm looking. They think they're looking for me. I'm looking for them. So let's flip the script on a lot of things and talk about affordability. I've got the answer. It's right here in my pocket. It's votes. And we're going to explain to you, educate you on what is causing the affordability crisis. It's real simple. It's right there in front of us. We're lied to, but I'm going to explain it to you in very simple terms. And most people know this. Most people know this, but I'm going to spell it out. What a lot of people are afraid to do, and I don't blame you. The government's dangerous. They'll get a posse together and come looking for you because you're exposing them. They're the ones that are dangerous. So we're going to talk about that this morning. And remember those two locations. Calhoun's on the river. The Thompson Bowling Arena. And it is current because there's something going on today about that same person that exploited you and lied about it, and the state overlooked it, at Calhoun's on the river, and that exploits you, and any college student that goes to the University of Tennessee exploited you and is exploiting you this day at Thompson Bowling Arena. And I'm going to explain this, just hang on. And just here recently, I got unconfirmed information. I'll show you the text message without revealing any sources to why I believe what I say. I'm not just doing stuff blindly. And also on my anonymous survey, things come in and have in the past about how this person is exploiting you and benefiting from making things worse on you. So the economy is not bad by natural progression. Is it natural progression that you pay more for services in an economy where, in an industry where things are easier made, we have more knowledge and more information about how to get goods to stores faster, how to produce faster. We're more robotic. So things should, in the natural progression, provide for lower food prices because things cost less to produce. They don't cost more, they cost less. The fact that you're paying more is by design because there's a middleman in there that's getting all the money, and that is people in government power are exploiting you and benefiting from your higher prices and benefiting from exploiting you. The incentive they have is to keep exploiting you. And we're going to draw it out fast, plain, and simple. I'll show you about government lies and deception. They even own, people in government power even own the judicial system. They will adjudicate legally in their road courtrooms that it is just and right for them to exploit you. You owe them a living for them. You owe it to them. They don't have to work. They don't have to do anything except for exploit you. And you pay them to exploit you. That's what people in government power do. That is a sociological perspective based on facts. It's not something I made up off the top of my head. You can pick up any sociology book, and my specialty is criminology. They're criminals, they're criminaloids. They just don't get branded or named a criminal because they own the judge, and the judge they own is not going to call him a criminal because he's a criminal too. So just look at the facts. The facts spell out a dismal situation for you and a great situation for them. So we're here on the Henley Street Bridge, my office here, so enjoy the view. Let's see how many people got in here. We got just a few. Thank y'all for coming. We thought we might have lower on the judicial system. You elect your judges. Dude, I didn't elect them. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true at all. And so we'll deal with that smart ass idiot that looks just at plain sight. We elect judges. That's just what you see. And oh yeah, why don't you look below? Move the curtain back and look outside the broader window besides you elect judges. I don't elect judges. That's not true. My vote is against any judge, always has been. Who elects judges is corporations, the news media, the state-owned media, and bias and false reporting and corporations. That's who elects judges. I mean, to say that you elect judges, dude, wow, oh, you're real brilliant. Wow, that's amazing that you come up with that brilliant thought. Okay, let's look at it. Does Russia elect Putin? Really? I mean, come on now. Give me a break. How, some of your arguments are so stupid. Please, keep coming up with them because they're easy to exploit. The populists don't elect judges. Corporations and special interest groups elect judges. Judges elect themselves. They use money that they've exploited from you, from the populace, to present an image of them that's not true, and people vote for them because it's fraud, and their people are deceived. So I didn't elect them, and I'm trying to undeceive people, if you get what I'm saying. So you can say we elected judges. No, we didn't. People were deceived. They were lied to, and I'm unlying to them. Can you understand that, idiot on here? So there's a lot of smart people on here, but I enjoy dealing with some idiots, just how simple it is to expose them. I mean, do you really think that people in America believe that the affordability issue is something that's just the result of everyday living? No, I don't. I don't believe people believe that. The affordability issue is the result of a organized design system by people in power that benefit off that system, that benefit off the demise of the public. That's why we have an affordability issue. It's not by chance. It's not by just sheer bad luck and circumstance. It is because people in elected office are exploiting people and benefiting from the cost of food and the cost of all these things. And they're not elected legitimately. People are lied to, and I'm about to expose that. So you look at the crisis in the 1980s of Jake Butcher and compare that to about 350 million, about $1 trillion in today's times. Now, Jake Butcher was probably defrauded the American public tax money before a lot of y'all were born. Jake Butcher falsely inflated in the 1980s the bank books and said his properties and his value was worth much more than it was, and then borrowed money to support his businesses and his business venture, inflating his value astronomically, getting more power to borrow money from the public in his businesses from his bank. And then his bubble busted where his businesses didn't make money and he had to pay back the loans, but he couldn't because his wealth was artificial that he had borrowed money on. So he defrauded the public over $350 million that was federally insured. That means the public had to pay back the money that he stole. Now, he went to jail over that, but there are hundreds and hundreds of other cases where there is no prosecution and the public is not even aware of the fact that the federal insurance is paying back money that people have defrauded from you. That's the one we know of. They don't tell you all the rest. They tell you some of the significant cases that leak out from news reporting, independent journalists, and they tell you that they're prosecuted and that the problem's all better and it's all well. There are a lot of other cases that weren't reported where the Federal Insurance Corporation paid the money back and because it was insured, and that money is paid back from tax money. And the problem with that is that took probably 20 years to pay back. Took years and years to pay back. That means that people that weren't even born yet, because of the people in government power's failure, and many other that didn't even get reported, because of their failure, the Federal Insurance Corporation, the government, had to pay back tax money. It's federally insured by tax money. Had to pay back money, and some people weren't even born yet when Jake Butcher defrauded American taxpayers. Some people weren't even born yet. So they were defrauded out of money before they were born. When they were 18, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, when they were 16, got a job at your local McDonald's, they had to pay back more taxes to pay back what Jake Butcher did before they were even born, and to pay back other frauds that were federally insured before they were born. So what we're doing today, ripping off taxpayers, by people in government power ripping off taxpayers, our children that aren't even born are going to have to pay for the mistakes and the rip-offs and the fraud of what's going on today. That's kind of important. I mean, should your worldview be that I only care about me, myself, and I'll rip off people that aren't even born yet, and rip off people steal their future from me, from them? Or am I just concerned about myself? You know, such a horrific problem for people that have children and grandchildren. The affordability issue is not by sheer bad luck. It is by design by people in government power. So Jake Butcher ripped off $350 million. By today's standards, $1 trillion. And taxpayers, it took them about 20 years to pay back all that money. So that's just one instance that we know about. More instances. And I'm about to show you. Remember Calhoun's. Remember University of Tennessee, people getting ripped off out of their futures by people in government power. It's people in government power that is doing this. This is not just a system that just flip-flops around. It is a organized, well-designed, well-planned system that keeps people in power, that keeps them rich, that don't have an affordability problem at the mass population's expense. I speak for the populace. I don't speak for people in government power. I speak against them. You can't even get artificial intelligence or any newspaper to tell the truth about these people, because it's all rigged. Everything is rigged in their favor by complete organization and control, and they explain everything away that it's the pandemic, and they explain everything away. Let me tell you, there is an explanation. The very clear explanation is the affordability problem is due to people in government power ripping you off at their benefit, and they even benefit off your demise. So they're going to keep doing it. I'll tell you a specific example of one that does it all the time. So look at the 2008 financial crisis. Overinflated assets in the housing bubble bust. We're still paying for that today. That cost about $100 out of your pocket a year for taxes paid for the 2008 bust, and people in power, people in these corporations that support people in power, some of them didn't even get charged with a crime. So that you're paying about $100 a year out of your tax money, which goes into the cost of food, less you have to pay for food, less you get to pay for stuff because of people in government power. They benefited all these people. These people in these corporations paid for their re-election campaigns. They paid to bolster their reputation that they're great people. They put out mass media. These people are great people. They're great. They're good people. Vote for them. When it's a dirty lie. They're not good people. They're corrupt people. People in government power are the cause responsible for the affordability issue. It's the people in power. Now, it's amazing to me. It's very amazing. And I keep saying this. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. I don't care. I'm saying this for the people that will agree with me and do believe me. But people are mad as hell. But not about the corporations and the people in power. And they're not even mad as hell about politicians that are setting up this design to rip you off. Every time you go to the store to buy milk and bread, the politician in office is getting money from that. These people are supporting their re-election campaigns, saying they're great. They're supporting these corporations, and their corporations are bolstering their campaigns and paying to their campaigns about special interests. So it is not a fluke that your groceries are going up. When your groceries go up, look at these judges. Look at your politicians that people have elected falsely in office. They're to blame. Nobody else tells you that. Unbridled News, Charles Van Morgan. They're to blame. I'm a sociologist. I have a Master of Arts in Sociology from that college right over there, from a place over there that a person that's benefiting off that university never went to school there. So just listen. People are mad as hell. Not at politicians, not at judges. They think everything's fine. It's not fine. I'm here to tell you. They're mad as hell about a drug addict that doesn't work, lazy, high on drugs all the time, that gets maybe $200 a month now in food stamps. Oh, you're mad as hell. I hear it all the time. And it's really almost laughable that people are mad, so mad at a drug addict that's getting $200 that's lazy. And I've heard people use foul language talking to me, that you use foul language to me. I mean, if you talk to me that way, you won't talk to me that way very long, because I won't listen to the words you say. You don't cuss me when you talk to me, because I won't listen to you. And because you need to read a few books and get a little educated. People think if I cuss enough, that's what these people go, if I cuss enough and use enough foul language, I'll beat somebody down. How about you pick up a book and read some facts? Pick up the newspaper and read between the lines and learn the facts. You can cuss all day long. That don't make me believe. It shows me how much an idiot you are. People are mad as hell. I've heard this. A lot of people, a lot of stupid people, a lot of ignorant people. And you cuss all day long. I'm not going to cuss. I'm going to lay out the facts for you. People are mad as hell over a drug addict, one that they know down the street or used to be there 3 years ago. They got $200 a month in food stamps and was lazy, and that's bankrupting the whole system. $200 a month. And wow, I mean, that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, that's not even a drop in the bucket. The food stamp program is a good program. It needs to be increased. There could be a few more drug addicts on food stamps that don't deserve it, and it wouldn't bother me. I mean, we should enforce the law, make them go to work, but that's not a problem. That doesn't raise the cost of your food, your milk. It's $200 a month. It's not even a drop in the taxpayer bucket. Doesn't even register, but people are mad as hell about that. Even cuss me over. Wow, how stupid thou art. It doesn't matter. The food stamp program feeds little children. It feeds people that are handicapped. It feeds the elderly. It's a great program. Ought to be increased. It is a welfare program that is a great program that should be bolstered, that benefits society, that levels up inequality in a good way. Some of these people worked hard all their life, and because they were exploited by people at the University of Tennessee that don't have a degree, that are at the University of Tennessee, exploiting you, it levels up the playing field where we give them back so that they can live. But people are mad as hell over that. Go ahead. You want to talk to me? I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. You can talk to me about it. If you pick up a book and read the facts and read the book, maybe do some little underlining and a little thinking out of your own mind instead of what people are telling you, instead of going out on the road and seeing some drug addict with food stamps. It's not a drop in the bucket, you idiot. They're not. That's insignificant. There could be 100 more, 1,000 more drug addicts on drugs, and your cost of food would not go up 1 penny. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant in the scheme of things. The problem is not with drug addicts getting welfare that don't work. They get $200 a month. The problem is in corporate welfare. The problem is in people in government power, the welfare that they're getting, the inequality for doing nothing but damaging you. That's the problem. And if you don't know that, then I'm here to tell you, if you don't agree with me, I've read the material, read a few books, and then come and talk to me and see what you think. And maybe it'll sink in. So people in government power are responsible for your food prices, for the affordability problem. People that have bolstered their reputation by exploiting you, by the money that they exploit you with, by design, are responsible for the affordability problem. It can be solved. It can be solved. And we'll talk about how it can be solved. One of the easiest ways, obviously, is stop voting for these criminaloids. Stop voting for them. So if you're mad at drug addicts because they get $200 a month and they should be working, and you think that has anything to do with anything, then you're wrong, and you're part of the problem, in my estimation. So the problem is with corporate welfare, with Jake Butcher, with people that got by with about $700 trillion worth of taxpayer fraud on you that you have to pay back in the 2008 economy bust. That is the problem. That is why your food prices are higher, exponentially higher, and no one significantly went to jail, and the problem has not been solved. It's been lied about. So that is the gist of the problem, is people in power. So let's look at some of the facts here. So many people got on here, got quite a few. Thank you. Like, share, comment. Says that's why pandemic laws permanently closed forever. All business mainly accused monarchy government. We should be generally administrative. If they wipe off immediately and fire, get another administration. That's right. Everybody is an expert. Well, I am an expert. I've got a degree that shows it, and I've studied and read beyond that. You could be just upset by how government is acting. In reality, no need to make up bullshit. Okay, well, if you think the government is handling things appropriately, then you know, you don't. Let me explain to you how they're not. Tennessee judges serve the rich off the system. They get 8-year terms, Tennessee judges. We're talking about the judicial system. We're talking about not a drug addict out on the street you think is worthless. We're talking about, because they don't have power. They can't rule against you, and they can't decide that they get your money. A drug addict out here. And hey, if the Knoxville Fire Department gets called, they're retrained now, they may do better. They'll pronounce you dead before they are. They'll get rid of them the old-fashioned way by ineptness. So, Tennessee judges get rich off adjudicating against you. Tennessee judges do that. They have 8-year terms. It's an easy yes or no retention election. In 2030, they're up for re-election. You want to keep the exploitation going? Vote yes. You want to stop the exploitation? Vote no. They exploit you. So, no real oversight, no mandatory retirement. It's power plus time equal wealth. So part of the problem, the affordability problem, is Judge McMillan, is Judge Clemmy Jr. That's the affordability problem. That's why you're paying higher prices, because of Judge McMillan. Not a drug addict. It's not the problem. I wouldn't get mad as hell about a drug addict. I get mad as hell about Judge McMillan that stepped on your constitutional rights and gets a retirement off guilty verdicts. That's the affordability problem. And takes all the resources and exploits you out of them, using the power of the government to exploit you. I would be mad at Clemmy Jr., who got his position because of his daddy. Who's your daddy? It's not who will adjudicate according to the Constitution. It's that higher people that are related to people that keep the power in the family. You know, they got a little family system set up. And, you know, it is perfectly fine for a business to hire family members. I get it. If you have a business that you work hard in independent business, and they're bad for your independent small businesses. If you have a business and you want to hire your son, I get it, I would too. I'd hire my son too. That's fine. Your own business, because your own business rises or falls on the decisions that you make. So if you have a business, a furniture business that makes furniture, and you make furniture and you get your son to help make furniture and you hire him the president of the company, you hire your daughter as over the business, manager of sales, and then you hire your great aunt's nephew as a vice president over sales, and you have a family business that's all about relatives, and you hire some of your friends, and it's all about nepotism in business, and that's fine. That's your own private business, has nothing to do with the government other than you pay your taxes. Then that's fine. You can do that, because what happens is, if your business fails, if you hire your son that lays around drunk all the time and your business fails, then you lose money. You're the one that pays the cost. So it's in your benefit to hire people that will do the job, maybe above your family and friends. But in government, they hire their family and friends and people that benefit them. And if the business fails, it doesn't matter. They keep taxing you more. And the government business has friends and relatives that have flooded the place, that are so inept, lay around drunk, and it's in the papers. And they lay around drunk and fail the business, fail the government. The government's failed. Look at your food prices. That's a result. You pay more food prices because food has to go up so they can get a little more money to fund the government because they're exploiting it. And so the government is full of drunken friends and family and relatives that don't pay the cost of their failures. And we need to make them pay the cost of their failures at the voting booth. So Tennessee judges are responsible for the failures for your food prices. When you go get food, think about the judiciary in Tennessee who are responsible for your food prices. Multiple terms. Money, every additional term equals a bigger salary, bigger pension, bigger power. Supreme Court salary is $230,000. Appellate court judges under that, just under that. Pension is based on the highest salaries. They serve 20 to 30 years, equal a lifetime paycheck. So these judges that are supposed to be elected for one term get reelected and reelected because they rule in favor of corporations, and corporations fund their campaigns that bolster their credibility, that falsely bolster people's opinion of them, and they keep getting reelected, and it's a lifetime paycheck that live off the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System in Tennessee. It's much like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, when he was governor of California. While he was governor of California, he was sleeping with his wife, who happens to be a very famous person, and he was sleeping with his housekeeper. Now, by anybody's standard, he's a creep. He had his housekeeper pregnant, and he had his wife pregnant at the same time. I mean, he's a creep. He's exploiting his housekeeper. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, he gets up and speaks against Donald Trump, and they got him on the news. Sometimes he gives his little political commentary and runs down Donald Trump. And you can run down Donald Trump. That's fine. Hey, I get it. Some people don't like him. Some people do. He got elected, so a lot of people do. But Arnold Schwarzenegger is a disgusting individual. I could care less what he says. His credibility is nothing to me. But when all that happened, he hired a political scientist. He hired a reputation experts to bolster his credibility, to try to put him back in a position of some form of decency or respect. And they have been able to accomplish that. You see him on on commentary running down the president, and he's apologizing, said he made a mistake. But in my view, and that's the way these politicians do, that's the way these Tennessee judges do. They help each other bolster their credibility and help them run for office. So money helps money, and nothing ever gets done that exploits you. It's about moving money around. It's not about moving work around. It's not about doing the work. People that carry the load and move the work around pay higher prices. While these people, judges, do nothing. They don't do nothing except for adjudicate against you. And these people that do wrong, that exploit you, that make rulings that exploit you, that make rulings that stomp on the Constitution, that stomp on soldiers' blood, that fought for your rights, that fought for your Fifth Amendment right to due process, a fair hearing, that don't give you a fair hearing, that got elected by lying to you and making rulings in favor of corporations, have these reputation experts that tell him exactly how to lie and how to defraud the public, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger. While he was raping, it's not voluntary consensual to be having sex with your housekeeper. That's not a fair economic situation. They had two people pregnant at the same time. One of the Kennedy ladies was his wife. And so she happened to have enough power to be able to get that out. But a lot of these politicians and a lot of these judges are involved in such awful things. How they get elected is not by we vote for them. It's by them being able to use money to defraud the public with false propaganda. So that's how they get elected. And we're about to talk about some of them specifically. So the answer is to vote these people out of office. So they serve 20 to 30-year terms when they should be elected for one term. And some of them shouldn't even be elected for one term. So who's been there decades? Who's been in office decades, living off your tax money? Who's been there decades? Real names, real years, entrenched power. Justice Hawley Kirby, 30 years in appellate courts. Chief Justice Bivens, second term on the Supreme Court. Judge Swaney, 26 years, control of appeals. Judge Clement Jr., 22 years. Judge Whittemire, 25 years. That's not public service. That's a career pipeline. So these dirty judges are serving buku years in office beyond normal terms, getting elected by falsehood and lies, supported by corporations and supported by each other. The Supreme Court, former Supreme Court Chief Justice at Nashville School of Law, Dope Coke, went to a campaign rally with a Chief Justice on the Tennessee Supreme Court to help her get reelected. One of them that's over the Tennessee Board of Law Examiners that turned down my law license. So he's helping her get elected to help her make a decision to continue to turn down my hard work. So my hard work meant nothing. But she makes buku bucks on the bench more than one term, and he goes and helps her get elected, but won't help one of his own students that has worked hard to earn an education. That's Dope Coke. So they even support and benefit each other. But the hard-working people that would fight for you and defend the Constitution, they won't lift a finger to try to help us not run for public office to get what we worked for. That's Dope Coke at the Nashville School of their law, which is rigging their law. They step all over the Constitution. So part of the problem is these judges serve multiple terms by false reputations bolstered by each other and corporations, and that is a tax burden. They have a paycheck. $260,000 is Supreme Court justice, so they have a paycheck that feeds them and their kids. One of the judges on the Board of Law Examiners judges, which is right under the Tennessee Supreme Court. So they don't even have appellate court. It's the trial judge and then the Supreme Court that has enormous power to deny law licenses. He admitted in class, Judge Harbison, he admitted in class that he was supporting his son. So I'm paying him to go to school there. Federal student loan money is paying him to educate me, which is fair if I can use my education. But he's benefiting. I'm not benefiting. Taxpayers are paying him. Californians, New York, Florida, Texas are all paying this Judge Harbison money because I got federal student loans that I'll borrow money, sign my name to go to law school to try to, I'll be able to pay it back when I practice law and defend the public. So when I already had advanced education in sociology, so I wanted to defend the public, defend the populace. So I borrow money that's federally insured, not by fraud like Jake Butcher. I borrow money that's federally insured, the federal student loan program. That's you insure that program. That means if a student goes in default, and I'm not in default, but it happens a lot of students go in default because the schools charge so much money that it's unreasonable. You can't pay it back in a lifetime if you practice law. A lot of times, their picks and people that are related to them don't even have to pay the full price of law school. It's only the outsiders that have to pay the full price of law school. So I borrow money that goes to him indirectly, but it goes to him because he's teaching classes at the law school, and I'm paying him to educate me in the belief that I'll be able to practice law later. He admitted that he's supporting his son when I was in law school. He said, well, I always have to support my son. Now, I picked up his son. This is Judge Harbison. I picked up his son at the Crown Hotel right here on Summit Hill, and took him. He wanted to go to the strip joint, and took him to a strip joint, which is a strip joint where I know for a fact, I'm not saying he was involved in it, but I know for a fact that prostitution goes on there. They closed it down, the strip joint down. Now they put it under another name. But he's supporting his son that I'm paying him to go to school, and a lot of students are paying him. Some of them got federal student loan money, and also he's getting federal student loan money by being a judge on the Tennessee Board of Law Examiners. He's a judge. He gets paid for that. They get several $1 million of money and state tax money of your money. So he's getting all this tax money in school. He's getting money from all over the United States, and then while he's on the Board of Law Examiners, he's getting your tax money. And then he's denying law licenses. So when you deny a law license, somebody's got to pay that money back because the student can't practice law, saying that the student is dishonest. I'm here to tell you, who's dishonest? He's got a lot of money. He's real honest, got a lot of money, yeah. And they can buy a reputation. I'm just saying. So he's using part of the student loan money, part of California's money, part of Texas, part of California, part of Florida, in every state in between, to support his son to go to strip joints. And that's what these people are doing. I know that for a fact, seen it happen. And he's admitting that he's supporting his son, that he's paying to go to strip joints. Now, his son's a lawyer. How did that happen? A lawyer that doesn't work with a law license. So, I was a working person. So, and I'm not in default of my loan. It's in deferment right now. But still, taxpayers are on the hook for their fraud. They get money from telling these people about the law, and they get money from adjudicating that after they've educated them, they're ready to compete with them, that they can't practice law. That's part of the fraud. That's the judges in Tennessee. The whole United States of America, all over the United States, should be mad at the Tennessee judiciary because you're paying them. It comes out of your pocket, money, to pay the judiciary to defraud the public. That's what they're doing. You won't hear that anywhere else. Unbridled news. They say I'm a fraud. No, I'm not. I'm telling you the truth. Federal student loan money goes in the paychecks of judges, Supreme Court judges, after they retire from the bench, making $260,000, $70,000 a year, retirement that will go to the rest of their life, and sometimes they sign papers that even after they're dead, their family gets their retirement for a little bit less on the retirement money. And then they go to work at these law schools, and these law schools pay them average dean of a law school is about $500,000 a year, and probably more now. And they don't even work at the law schools. They just have their name on the door. And they probably just gave the law school for their name on the door, their brand name on the door. They probably just give the law school their bank account where they can deposit $500,000 of student loan money. That's how the school gets money, student loan money. Taxpayer money goes into the school. So these schools are banks, for federally insured banks that are law schools. They're federally insured banks under the cover of law schools. They're federally insured, that you put money that go in these banks, that these law school deans that are former Supreme Court justices rape all that money out of that bank, and they get it. And then when the bank needs more money and there's not money there, then they continue to defraud the student loan system. So these people in power. So somebody's got to pay for that. Who pays for that? Well, they raise your taxes and your food prices and your cost of living. So people in government power, the Tennessee judiciary, are responsible for the worldwide recession that's going on now that no one wants to talk about. That's who's responsible, Tennessee judges. But people aren't mad at Tennessee judges. Oh, their robes, and let's stand up when they walk in a room. People are mad at a drug addict that gets $200 a month that's causing food prices to go up. When a dean of a law school gets $500,000 a year, gets millions of dollars in retirement benefits, that causes the cost of living to raise astronomically for robbing you, but they're not mad at them. If I was you, I'd be mad at the Tennessee judiciary, and I wouldn't hurt any of them. They want to hurt me. They'd like to hurt me for telling you the truth about them. What I would do is vote them out of office. At 2030, the election's coming up for the whole Tennessee Supreme Court. Put no on there. Let's get rid of them. Let's send them a message. You're lying, and we're not believing your lie. We're not buying what you're selling us, which what they're selling us is a lifetime of blessed freedom and financial security, and you pay for it in not being able to live on the planet with higher rent, higher food prices, higher gas prices. That's what you get out of the Tennessee judiciary. Judge Clement went to the same law school as me. So they're privileged to rip you off. Judge Clement, same law school as me. He just happens to be in the clique. His daddy was a former governor, and I've heard his daddy was a drunk, Clement Sr. It was a great speaker, a great propagandist. So Judge Clement Jr. went to the same law school as me, Nashville School of Law. Now, he graduated past the bar just like me. I graduated past the bar. Now, I can't get my law license. Judge Clement, do you think Judge Clement, with his daddy being the former governor, had any trouble getting his law license? You think if Judge Clement was a dirty, lying scoundrel that did all kinds of horrific atrocities, which I don't know, he may. I know he adjudicates falsely, adjudicates wrong. I know he lies in his rulings. I know the rulings are always unanimous for the government. There's a 3-judge appeals court panel that he sits on. All 3 judges rule in favor of the government every damn time, almost. And rule that the government is right. People in government power are right. That's by design. That's not a fluke. I mean, you can't get 3 people at a table to agree about everything. How do they agree about everything all the time? Because it's rigged. It's a rigged court system. They agree about everything all the time because when they agree about stuff, then they have a higher chance of getting promoted. They're agreeing with the governor, and the governor promotes them if they agree with it. If they have a dissenting opinion, the governor's going to say, well, he didn't agree with me in this case, so those other 2 judges did, so I'm going to promote them to a higher court. So when you're on the bench, you say, well, I either have a choice between what's doing right, upholding the Constitution, what people die for, or I need my billfold a little better. I need to support my son to go to strip joints where they have prostitution, and so I'm going to rule for the governor so my family can be well taken care of. I'm just saying that, and I'm not just saying. I'm telling you, I'm drawing the line. Here's the line, believe me or not, I got a right to say it. They sure say a lot of lies in their judicial rulings. And I know for a fact, I'm not guessing, a lot of their judicial rulings are lies, falsehoods, completely false, completely not right, in an effort to rule for the governor to get promoted so that they can send their kids to strip joints. At least in one circumstance, and so that in other circumstances, so that they can benefit their family and themselves and not stand on the Constitution. Now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have won everybody except for a few people's vote in the state of Tennessee. You're the governor, and you've got power under the Constitution to run the government. I get that. But it doesn't matter if you're the governor. You still do not have the right to trample on the Constitution of the United States of America. You don't have that right. I don't care how many people are on your team. I don't care how many people have voted for you. One person that's not in public office, that's a civilian in the United States of America, has a Constitution. They have rights. They have the First Amendment. But you cannot make a law, Governor Bill Lee, to abridge the freedom of speech. Judges can't write laws and rule in favor of the government that violate people's constitutional rights. Not in America. You need to go to Russia, Mr. Bill Lee. Not in America. People like me won't have it. And people all across America don't put up with Governor Bill Lee's Christian lies. He's a liar. I don't know his heart, but I know he doesn't live like a Christian. I know he hasn't lived a good life. He'll answer to a judge here to come and answer for his violation of constitutional rights. He doesn't promote judges because they honor the Constitution. He promotes judges because they fill his pocketbook, because they do what he wants them to do. And in our system of governments, one person who has no political clout whatsoever at all has the Constitution, has power over what he can do to them. You still have a Fourth Amendment right to have them have a proper warrant that's not by an unbiased judge before they can charge in your house and shoot you, which is what they've done here about a mile from my house. We still have constitutional rights. It doesn't matter in America, political clout cannot trample the Constitution, and that is why your food price is going up. That's the affordability problem, because people in government power trample the Constitution, overstep their bounds because of power and influence, and they step on territory that they have no right. That's what they do in America. That's what they do in the state of Tennessee. It is a massive problem that's showing up at your grocery store. When are people going to do stuff about it? I say we do stuff about it now. Not like them, they're violent. My strong suggestion, if you want to be able to live in the state of Tennessee, is to vote these criminaloids out of office and anybody associated with them. It's not working for you. That's an affordability problem. So we're going to talk about specific instances of the affordability problem and how these people are raping the system, getting your money that don't deserve it. So we'll continue talking about Tennessee judges. Thank y'all for joining. I appreciate your time. Like and share if you like. It'll spread this message. Spread this message to vote people out of office. So how they get rich? They don't create anything. They just stay in power. High salary, guaranteed pension, state health benefits, raises to mechanically built into the system. Influence equals special treatment. They get treated better than you. They get treated a lot better than you. And the longer they stay, the richer the deal gets. So there's a huge incentive for them to stay in office. They don't stay in office to administer justice and the Constitution. That's what they tell you. That's what they tell you. But it shows up. Their rape of the system, their violation of constitutional rights, their violation of the public rights, their self-serving agenda that serves their little clique, their little family, unlike a regular family where if you hire your family and friends and they do a horrible job, the company goes under. So you got an incentive to do right. But the government hires family and friends. The nepotism in the highway patrol and the nepotism in state government is so astonishing. So astonishing. But when it flops, you pay the bill. They don't have to pay the bill. They raise taxes, raise food prices, and things keep going up, so you keep paying a bill of a flop system. If the government was ran appropriately, if it was ran fairly according to the Constitution, if there was equal distribution of resources, equality, then you wouldn't have a system where the food prices were sky high. Food prices are high by design that benefits them. They have to have a little more money because they have flopped the government. The government works so well for them, they can run it, and they keep raising prices to keep it afloat when it is sinking, and you're the one paying the bill for it. That's the reason why the economy, that's the affordability problem. So we should have equality. Now people say, well, you're rigging the system. That's socialism. It's not socialism to have things fair, to have things constitutional, because they're the ones rigging the system. They're rigging the system in their favor. The equality is where you get what you deserve, because the separation between the rich and poor is astronomical. That means the rich are getting super rich. They're getting things that they don't deserve, that they haven't worked for. The people that are moving society, the truck drivers, the factory workers, the doctors, the nurses, the street officers that work this road and do their job, the sanitation workers, the people that are carrying the load, that are moving society, that the society can't function, are being ripped off, are being exploited, are not being treated equally by people in government power, these dirty judges, these dirty public officials, these corporations that are funding their re-election. That's a cycle, so that they can continue to give them tax breaks, are the ones that are being treated unequally, unjustifiably, and they're even doing things to damage you. Not only is it not equal, it is the people who are damaging you the most at the top of the ladder are the ones that are doing the most harm to you, that are dangerous to you. So it's about equality in the fact that people that carry the load should get the benefit of their work and their service, not public officials that actually work against you and cause things to be harder for you are getting more money than they deserve. So it's not about socialism. The socialism is at the top. They're getting welfare. They're getting benefits. They're getting stuff that they don't deserve. They're getting several years in term in office when they've ruled and adjudicated against Tennesseans. That's the problem. So you work all your life for retirement, pennies. They sit in a robe for 30 years and get guaranteed checks for life. They make mistakes, still rewarded. They made a mistake, in my case, not just a mistake, they intentionally rigged things. They rigged things for the governor intentionally and benefit. They allow perjury, still protected. They retire with VIP benefits. You will never see, the public will never see. But people are angry at a drug addict. And even I have people cuss me, oh, that damn blank down the street, won't you talk about him? And mad at him and talk to me that way. And then a judge adjudicates against them, takes their money when they're right, and we're more than happy to put up with that. What idiots? What idiots? A drug addict is not harming you. These dirty Tennessee judiciary is damaging you to the nth degree, causing your food prices to rise astronomically. They're responsible. The judiciary in Tennessee, your politicians in Tennessee are responsible for the affordability issue. Until we vote them out of office, it's going to get worse. We need to act now to get rid of these criminaloids in public office. Why it matters. Why it matters. And we're going to talk about that. Power with no accountability always leads to corruption. So let's look at the views so many people got on here. Power with no accountability always leads to corruption. So we got a few people on here. Like, share, comment, spread the message. He could be just upset by how government is acting and rally. No need to make up No need to make up stuff. No need to make stuff. I'm not making up stuff. I'll tell you some facts and circumstances and positions. I showed you Calhoun's on the river. I showed you the Thompson Bowling Arena. That's not bull. Those are actual places, and we'll tell you the story behind those actual places here in just a minute. Why it matters. Power with no accountability always leads to corruption. Always. And there's no accountability. 30 years on the bench, how are they accountable? And then they retire and deans of law schools. How are they accountable? They're not accountable. They'll continue doing this. It's human nature. They're wicked as hell. They're dirty as hell. They stand up in black robes, and their heart is as black as those robes are. They're that filthy, wicked, rotten. They don't care to step on the blood of soldiers that have guaranteed a right to a fair trial. They step all over it, trample all over it. They violate the Constitution, and they're protected behind these benches that give them complete immunity for wrong done while they're making these dirty decisions on the bench, because their credibility has been bolstered by liars, by corporations that benefit from their decisions that help them. So this is why cases get ignored. This is why lies stand. This is why people like you and me get crushed, because people judging us are financially protected from consequences. It's not their private business. They'd run their private businesses and go under. It's the government, where when they run the government, and they have run the government, look at your food prices, look at affordability. They've run the government. The government, the prices of food would not be high. Affordability would not be astronomical. Things would be affordable. As many people wouldn't be homeless. The resources would be fairly distributed according to people's work, but for judges in Tennessee. They're responsible for this catastrophe. They're responsible for affordability. Tennessee judiciary, blame it on them. Put the light where the light is. People won't say that. You won't hear that anywhere else. Unbridled news. I've got a right to say that. I'm standing on the Constitution of the United States. Soldiers died for my right to speak. Thank you, soldiers. I appreciate what you've done for me. It needs to get out. Soldiers didn't die for the right to judges to deny you a fair hearing. They do that all the time. They violate that. I'm telling you, they violate that. But I'm standing on the Constitution. Hopefully they won't retaliate. If they do, they're standing on the blood of soldiers. They got a pulpit. They got more of a pulpit than me. They can stand up and hold a press conference and say Charles Van Morgan is lying and he did wrong and does wrong. But I'm telling you, no, they do. I'm not responsible for your affordability problem. I was responsible, and I made sure you got home at night and your family got home at night. The fatality rate was much lower when I was out on the road. And your affordability problem will go way down, and your ability to make a living and live in society and have a house and have a better future and a better income for not even you, for generations that aren't even born, because they've exploited generations that aren't even here yet, will be much better if you listen to me. Just like I did when I was a trooper, I will make things better for you. They won't, have they? When I was in public power, I lowered the fatality rate. They've been in, and they got rid of me and benefited for getting rid of me. And now that they're in power, look at your resources. So call to action. We don't fix the courts until the people wake up. So the court system's going to keep being the dirty court system, going to keep trampling on the blood of soldiers, denying your constitutional rights, denying you the First Amendment, denying you a right to even run for public office to fight these people. They'll put you in jail for running for public office. Look at my jail photo, where they put me in jail for speaking out against the judiciary, for asking if I ever got in office to have a special prosecutor's office outside of politics to investigate not the drug addict on the street. There's plenty of police to investigate them. They go to jail all the time. To investigate the people at the higher rung of society that are more dangerous than any street criminal, that do more crime, according to criminology. Voters of the truth enraged. Take back power from lifelong insiders. Shine a light on the ones getting rich in the dark. I'm Charles Van Morgan, Unbridled News, and I'm not scared of any of them. I'm like Clint Eastwood. I'm going right in the middle of them. You should have armed yourself before you decorated your bar with my friends, the populace in the state of Tennessee. You're not looking for me, I'm looking for you. And I think I've found you with a little bit of something called the truth. So, and we're going to point out some more truth. Look at this. Judge Clement, Judge Burnett, and Richard Dawkins, who's now deceased. Look at their decisions. 3 people. And in other decisions involving the Highway Patrol, they always rule for Bill Lee. They always rule for Governor Bill Has-Been. They always rule for Bredesen. They always rule for the governor. Unanimous decisions. How do you get unanimous decisions out of 3 people almost all the time without fail, unless it's somebody with political influence? Because it's rigged. The judges' decisions are rigged. And they even ignore expert testimony. The judges, they don't have knowledge in mechanics, electrical mechanics or physics, but they adjudicate things outside of their knowledge and won't allow an expert to say, no, that's not the way it is. This is the way this happens scientifically. But they won't do that. They'll eliminate an expert if it doesn't go along with their decisions, which is what they did in my case. You can't get 3 people in a room to agree on anything in normal society. I mean, they're all going to have, where's the dissenting opinions? You can tell they're lying, that they're ruling for biased reasons. They all agree because they're all in the same category, wanting to rule for the governor. That's what they do every time, all the time. Unanimous decisions out of these crooks, and they're crooks. Judge Clement is a crook. He graduated from the same law school as me. He didn't have any trouble getting his law license. And he's not only got his law license, he got a seat on the appeals court. How did he do that? Because who's your daddy? It's not about who's qualified. He didn't work the road and risk his life and lower the fatality rate. His daddy was a former governor, so he's in with the clique, in with the government. Judge Clement is a lying, babbling idiot that thinks he's a scientist that adjudicates stuff he knows nothing about. But he knows he adjudicates for the governor because that's who his daddy was. So they all rule for each other and stomp on the Constitution, stomp on soldiers' blood. And if you think I'm being too hard on them, imagine a soldier that goes out, fights for this nation, for this country, to uphold the rule of law, the Constitution, which is the supreme rule of law, and then you go into court and he denies you a fair hearing and gives you what the governor tells him to give you for promotions and for money. Am I being too hard on him? He cares nothing about soldiers' blood. He's a total robber and a thief, and he ought to be investigated and put in jail for some of his crooked decisions. I got the same education. See, why can't I get anywhere? Because people in power won't let me, including him. So they are people that are sitting in judgment of you when you come through Tennessee. These people are on the administrative courts. You come through Tennessee in your car, a trooper will pull you over when you're not drunk, seize your car. You say, well, I'll fight that in court. Good luck. Good luck, because you got administrative law judges in Tennessee, same law judges that took my job away, will adjudicate that your car is gone. So come in Tennessee at your own risk. They want your property. They'll get a judge to say, yep, that's the right thing, take their car. When you're stone cold sober, you say, well, they're find out there's no alcohol in people's system and giving them, releasing them from jail. That's the ones we know about. How many other hundreds have been arrested that haven't got out of it, that didn't give a blood test and cannot prove their innocence when they're not supposed to have to prove their innocence. The state's supposed to prove they're guilty, but they flipped the system where we got to prove our innocence. And they're arresting people by the truckloads that aren't drunk or in the influence of any drugs, and most likely seizing a lot of their vehicles. And then they go for an administrative judge that's going to rule for the governor that wants their car and wants their money. So if you're in California, drive through Tennessee. If you're in New York, drive through Tennessee. If you're in Texas, drive through Tennessee. If you're in North or South Carolina, drive through Tennessee. If you're in Florida, drive through Tennessee. At your own damn risk. Read the papers. Read between the lines. You're liable to get put in jail for being drunk when you're not drunk. You're liable to have your car seized, and then one of these dirty administrative law judges say it was justified when it's not. They'll make it daylight when it's not. You say, well, I don't have any drugs in my car. There's no reason for them to seize my car, my property. I've got it paid for. I worked hard for it. They don't have to have a reason. They have to have a judge sign off on it and make up a reason. You say, well, they got to have facts. If they don't have facts, they'll lie about facts. They'll say there was drugs in there when there's not. You're thinking, a lot of people are thinking these judges are honest and unbiased and they'll adjudicate the law and the facts. No, they will not. They'll adjudicate a lie and put the weight of law on it and take your damn property all day long. Come through Tennessee at your own risk. I wouldn't. Now, people say it's corruption everywhere. I don't know. I don't live in California. I know people make fun of Californians. Californians ought to be mad as hell at Tennessee judiciary. I know people make fun of people in New York got a socialist mayor, and I don't think that's right either. But Californians pay into the federal student loan program that Tennessee judges get. If I was California, I would be checking into how to get that money back from the judiciary of Tennessee that have robbed you blind. I'd be very careful about driving through the state of Tennessee because of the Tennessee Highway Patrol under Major Stacey Heatherly will take your property. She's going over this. She'll say it's right, sign off on it. She's got a history in her record where people have complained on her. She's been exonerated by the Tennessee Highway Patrol, who decides falsehoods, I know for a fact. She's got a history of violence. People have complained. I know of at least one complaint documented on the record. Of course, she was exonerated by the Fox, by Major Perry, who got promoted because of his daddy was a captain, because one of his close relatives was former Supreme Court justice. He got exonerated. She got exonerated by Perry, who's in the system that perpetrates the system, but she's got complaints for violence, for being violent toward people. People say she hurt them, physically violent towards them. Major Stacey Heatherly of the Highway Patrol. I know her personally. I've met her. She's a very violent, dangerous person. Now, she was acted in a manner violent towards me. She stepped over the line, but she didn't actually hurt me, because if she had hurt me, then I would have defended myself. And trust me, there's nothing there that would make anybody afraid of her. She smoked cigarettes. If you fought with her for 20 seconds, if you can survive 20 seconds, she'll be out of breath and fall over, probably with a heart attack. She says it's such bad shape. I mean, she's the symbol of the Highway Patrol, and her uniform is just all crinkled to nothing. And she's got a history of violence. This is people in charge. They're violent. They're violent towards the public, unjustifiably. Now, she was exonerated in that, but she has a record of violence. I filed complaints on her. People say, why didn't you do something? I did. I filed complaints about her. And of course, the complaints were true, but they don't matter. So here's what she did. And I'm telling you, your affordability problem is not affordability problem. It's a government problem, people in government power problem that have rigged the system where they're living off you. You're having to pay more so they can work against you, which is exactly what she does. She has raised the fatality problem in the state of Tennessee. She's created an environment where she got hit by a drunk driver. A deputy here in Knox County has to have his leg amputated because of the problem of drinking and driving that I lowered, that she used your tax money to take somebody off the road that was lowering the fatality rate. So you're more likely to get hit by a drunk driver because of your tax money. You're more likely to get hit by a drunk driver because you paid tax money to the state, and they made it more likely for them to get hit and you to get killed. That's how inept these people are. They're even dangerous to themselves. So she spent tax money going to the scene, hiring somebody that claimed to be an expert, and shut down the road and paid him, flew him down from another state, paid him your tax money. She didn't pay him. Your tax money paid Major Stacey Heatherly now to perpetrate a lie. She used your tax money to hire somebody to help her lie. They do that all the time. They use your tax money to help them lie, to make things worse for you, and even in some instances, like the fatality rate, they got to drive on these roads, dangerous for them. Like a deputy, Knox County deputy, had foot amputated after being injured on duty in a DUI crash. And that happened just in October 28, 2025, published. So they're even making it dangerous for yourself. And you say, well, that's sad. You shouldn't talk about that. Deputy has blue lights and a siren. Major Heatherly has blue lights and a siren. She's got the ability to reduce that. So it's different than a regular citizen that's losing their leg. Why ain't they printing stories about regular citizens that are getting damaged in DUI wrecks? They can't do anything about it. All they can do about it is get on the phone and call and say, this person's all over the road. Can you please send an officer out here? I think something's wrong with them. They're dangerous. They almost hit somebody, or they just bounced off the side of a telephone pole. Now, when I was on the road with the Highway Patrol, we got calls like that all the time. I'd be sitting on the interstate or sitting in a bar parking lot where people come out and see the Highway Patrol car and say, well, I'm not driving drunk. There's Trooper Morgan, he'll get me. So they go back in, and I made more business for taxi services, and then you'd see a taxi haul them off, which was keeping the fatality rate down. They don't kill themselves or somebody else. That's what I did when I was out on the road. What they do when they're out on the road is they sit in offices and figure out how they can make their life better for them and their family and hire their friends. And the nepotism is astonishing. So these people have blue lights and a siren. They can go out and they can stop people. Now, when I got a call from a citizen, they'd say they're coming down the interstate. Somebody called in a car all over the road, a red Camaro at the 369 going eastbound. So I would go down the road a little further and wait for that car and then get behind them and watch them. If they went all over the road, I'd pull them over. If they didn't go all over the road, sometimes you get false calls. But I would go look for these people that citizens called in. There's a reason that I got more drunk drivers off the road than any trooper in the state. It was hard work and dedication. There's a reason why I can fight these people in government power. Hard work, persistence, and dedication. They didn't stop me from fighting. They just changed the fight to something much more important than drunk driving, to stop the people that are perpetrating the problem that's even endangering themselves. So I'm even good for them. So when a citizen called in a drunk driver, I used to go after them. You think Stacey Heatherly or these other people, or that you're feeling sorry for people that could have done something about it, that created a problem that's damaging them themselves? Why does the Sheriff's Department not have a DUI detection unit? Is it because it's not federally funded anymore? It provides for public safety. I will support a sheriff partly if they promote a DUI enforcement program to get drunk drivers off the road, to protect drunk drivers and themselves. So these are people that could do something about it and have perpetrated a problem that they caused themselves. So they're even creating a problem for themselves. Tennesseans, in a poll, voters say the economy is the most important issue facing Tennesseans. The economy is in a wreck because of people like Major Stacey Heatherly, because of people in government power right now, because of the judiciary, because they're robbing you. They're making decisions financially to benefit them, and somebody's got to pay for that. They do nothing. They don't move nothing. They don't pick something up and build it. They don't do anything except for adjudicate in their favor for money. That's what the judiciary in Tennessee does. It affects the whole United States of America, the judiciary in Tennessee. That's the problem. So the problem is not an affordability problem. It's a government, people in government power problem. I'm not anti-government. We are the government. We need to get rid of these people in public power. So here's the thing. Tennessee 7th District poll. What do you think the most important issue facing Tennessee? Economy, 38%. Housing affordability, 15%. Threats to democracy, 13%. Healthcare, 13%. Immigration, 6%. Crime, 5%. Education, 5%. So the most important issue is 38%. But the reason that 38% is people are concerned about that is this 5% that people aren't concerned about. That 5% is due to government crime. That 5% of people are interested in crime. 99.9%, the only percentage that shouldn't be interested in crime are people in government, because they're the ones committing the crime. So the crime is only 5%. It's because people are worried about street crime. But 99.9%, if you aren't in government service, you ought to be interested in crime, in government crime. And people in government power, the crimes that they're committing are the ones that are destroying the economy. So the affordability problem is not an affordability problem. It's the people in government power problem, a people in government service problem that aren't serving the public, that are serving themselves. That's the affordability problem. If we vote these people out of office, the judiciary and people in office now, there won't be an affordability problem. We can correct the economy by making society equitable, meaning if you work and carry the load and move society, then you get the benefit of that. If you sit in a government office and don't provide for the equity, don't provide for people and make it fair for people carrying the load for the workers, then you'll be removed from public office. If you commit a crime and you're in government office, your influence and your power won't matter. You'll go directly to jail. You won't pass go. You won't collect $200. You won't collect your retirement. You'll go to jail. That is the affordability problem. The affordability problem is a crime problem of people in government power. That's from an educated sociological perspective, from life lived, and I can give you facts on the ground that I've seen. Very easy to see. Now, Mr. Barker, he was a judge, former Supreme Court judge, retired from the bench. Millions of dollars that was getting in retirement. He's now deceased, so I can't even defame him. You can't defame a dead person. But I would say the same thing if he was alive. So, and I'm not heartless, God rest his soul. He's answering to God now for his illicit, wrongful ruling against me and against you. He ruled against me and against you by proxy because he denied me to practice law to defend you, denied me wrongfully. He should have gave me my law license. He had his law license. He's a former Tennessee Supreme Court Chief Justice. He was over the whole judiciary in Tennessee. Means he's probably more crooked than any justice, right? Because they back up the government, stomp on your constitutional rights. So he didn't let me protect your constitutional rights in the courtroom, although they let foreigners do that. But Mr. Barker, let's talk about him. Mr. Barker, when I was in a hearing, you can listen to it. I put it all out on the internet, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. I swore to tell the truth. I told the truth. They don't like the truth. They disagree with the truth, so they rule against the truth. They rule against the truth. They don't like it. They'll mark it false and write in a ruling that's got the weight of law stamped on it. It's legitimate. It's got the weight of law. No, it's not legitimate. Just because a crooked judge rules in their favor to support themselves to help the hierarchy, that don't make it legitimate. Read their rulings. It's probably a lie. And I know it's a lie because I was there. I was not the only one there. Another witness there said the same thing I said, but they still said that the truth was a lie because they're going to get their way because they're the judges. They've gotten elected by government power falsely, and they're going to continue to back up government power even if it's false, even if it causes you an affordability problem. So Mr. Barker, when I was in the hearing, he said to me, now I'm under oath. I said under oath, I didn't see that car off the side of the road as a wreck. I thought it was a parked car. I said the same thing I said under oath in other hearings. I've always said that. But they want me to lie under oath in order to get my law license and say the judiciary was right. I seen that car, should have seen that. But that's not true. I'd be lying under oath. But if I lie under oath, then I get my law license. If I tell the truth, I'll never get my law license. Ain't that a little messed up rigged system that wants credibility, and it's very important for you to be honest? It's not very important for you to be honest to get your law license. It's very important for you to back up people in government power so that the affordability problem can continue and that we can live off you. That's what they're telling you. I don't buy it, and they're not hunting me. I'm hunting them with the truth. Now, Mr. Barker said, now here's just one lie. Let me show you these lies. This black and white, pure lies, pure innuendo. He's a lawyer. He knows what he's doing. He's ringing the bell. Ringing the bell is a concept in the legal system where stuff is not admissible in a courtroom because of court rules, because of rules of fairness. For example, if you are accused of shoplifting, and say you didn't do it, you didn't shoplift, the guard framed you, he stole something, and he's blaming you for it. and you really didn't do it factually, but you have been convicted of shoplifting before, and you learned your lesson. You're not doing it anymore. So when you go to court, they can't bring that previous conviction of shoplifting up, because the jury's going to think that you shoplifted once, so you must have done it again. So they have to deal with the facts of the shoplifting at that time. The fact that when the guard found you, you didn't have the property, you didn't have the stolen property on you. The fact that the only witness was the guard, and the property that he said you stolen was found at his house. So you're dealing with those facts. So they can't, the prosecution can't say, well, Mr. Morgan was accused of shoplifting, convicted before. He literally pled guilty to it, which is not, I'm just using that as an example. I haven't shoplifted or been convicted. But in order to be fair, even though it's a fact that you were convicted of shoplifting before, they can't bring that in because of the fact that it would bias the jury. So the courtroom has rules to be fair, but there's such a thing as called ringing the bell. Ringing the bell is where you bring in evidence that you know is inadmissible, and you say it like the prosecutor says, that Mr. Morgan was accused of shoplifting and pled guilty on such date. Well, your defense attorney is going to stand up and say, Your Honor, I object. That's inadmissible. It's a prior bad act. It has nothing to do with this. And the judge may say, strike that from the record, and the jury disregard those statements. But what happens is, and so he objects, and the jury's supposed to disregard it, but the jury's already heard it. So, and you can get a mistrial, but sometimes they won't bother to go through the whole trial. But it's called ringing the bell. Even though you knew it wasn't admissible, you rung the bell, you let them hear it. And there's a lot of instances of ringing the bell. You let them hear it even though you know it's not admissible. Now, Mr. Barker, former Supreme Court Justice, how you doing? Over the state of Tennessee, Chief Justice, highest justice, he knows the law. It's got a law degree. He knows about ringing the bell. He knows all about it. Would he do that? Would he do that and bias the other people on the board? Surely not. Surely he'd be honest and uphold the Constitution. Would he? I'm telling you, this Supreme Court Justice is top of the top. And here's what he did in the hearing. I'm just telling you, just a blatant example, ringing the bell, trying to get the whole board to deny me the right to assist you in a courtroom while they let people that are from other countries that don't have a selective service registration, that don't have a birth certificate, and allow them to practice law, but they won't allow American citizen that is honest. So they try to ring the bell about stuff that doesn't even matter, just trying to bias the jury, bias the other judges. This is Mr. Barker. Yeah, robe and got plenty of benefits, already tired from the bench, and I did say bench, B-E-N-C-H, and now on the Board of Judicial, the Board of Law Examiners as a judge, making further money after he's already retired, getting this gravy job to deny people law license, to keep the rigged system rigged. That's what he did. He kept the rigged system rigged. But I'm out here to tell you the truth. They're not hunting me, I'm hunting them. So here's what he said. He said, Mr. Barker, Supreme Court, Mr. Morgan, what we're worried about is not so much the accident. It was a horrible accident. Apparently, there was another accident where there was a high-speed chase and somebody died. That's not what we're here about today. Then why do you mention it? We're not here about this. I just want to get it out. You know, I want to ding, ding, ring the bell. You'll hear that bell. I want to ring the bell. Let the other judges know about this so they'll be completely aware that you're in another pursuit where somebody died. That's nothing to do with anything, but I want them to know that. Wow, what a thug. What a dirtbag to do that. You know, he was a judge. He's been involved in many cases, I'm sure, based on his character, just based on that. Why would you bring that up if it didn't matter? He brought it up because he's biasing the other judges. There were 3 other judges on that board, and he's letting them know, hey, he's been involved in another pursuit where somebody died. And that's not even relevant. That doesn't even matter. I was cleared on that other pursuit. I was cleared on the other pursuit, and I wasn't even in pursuit at the time. I had terminated the pursuit. I'd been cleared by the Department of Safety. That has nothing to do with anything, but he wants to throw that in there. Why does he do that? Because he's a crooked, dirty, thug, now deceased judge. That's just the truth. You won't hear anybody say that except for Unbridled News, Charles Van Morgan. And you think, well, they just did that to you. No, they did it to you because they denied me the right to stand up in court and argue things like this, where they try to cover it up, but I won't let them cover it up. They're not covering up anything. They're so blatantly crooked and wicked and money grabbing and thieves and dangerous for themselves, and robbers rob the whole country. Come through Tennessee, they'll take your car and bias the rest of the jury or judges. He said that to ring the bell. I want the other juries to know what a con job, what a con judge he was. He says what we're here about today is we want to be able to say the public, when we give somebody a law license, we can depend on them to tell the truth to the courts, to the other lawyers, to the clients. That's what we're concerned about. No, you're not. No, you're not. You just made a statement to bias. I'm obviously honest. I testified to them honesty, but they don't want honesty. They want you to lie for them. That's what he said. What we're here about today is we will be, here's what he should have said. Because what he said and what he did are two different things. What he did before he prefaced this was he biased the rest of the judges, bringing something in here that doesn't have anything about it. I'm going to show you more about that. Why? Obviously it doesn't matter. It matters in my case because they're wanting to hit on me. They got a hit on me is what it is. It's a judicial hit. We're going to ruin his credibility and throw in everything in the kitchen sink and muddy the water because we're not giving him his law license. And then we're going to frame it. Here's how we're going to frame it. We're the judiciary. We're honest. We're here today. About today is we want to be able to say to the public when we give somebody a law license that we are giving somebody a law license that you can trust, that we can depend on them to tell the truth to the courts, to the other lawyers, to clients. That's what we're concerned about. What he's concerned about is that we can depend on somebody to be in our favor, to represent to the public that you're honest, but you're really on our side, on our team. You'll lie for us. You'll back up our lies. You won't fight for the Constitution, that you're here for us, but we can present it to the public undercover like a chameleon, that you're on their side. You'll tell the truth to them. When he's really saying you told the truth in your hearing that didn't agree with dirty judges' lies, so we're going to smear you. And we're not giving you your law license. And we're going to act like we're not giving you your law license because you're not honest, when really the Tennessee judiciary is not honest. I said that. Charles Van Morgan, live, Unbridled News. You won't hear that anywhere else. I'm honest. I'm very honest. I'm showing you some lies, black and white lies, black and white, ringing the bell. Look what he did. Not so much worried about, and apparently there was another accident. So he's, that has nothing to do with anything. He knows he shouldn't do that. He knows that. He's a dirty judge. He was a dirty judge. He's one of many on the bench. I'm honest. That's what he said. That's not what I said. I was under oath. If I lied, prosecute me. They won't, because they know I get to go to a jury, and I won't settle. I won't bargain. I'm not bargaining with terrorists. That's what they are. They're terrorists by taking away your rights. So he wants to make sure that you're on their team, that you're on the non-affordability to the public, you're on the non-constitutional for the public, and you're on his team. But we'll present you to the public as you're honest, because they're dishonest. As a matter of fact, they had another judge sitting on that board that was stealing your tax money at the time that they're telling me I'm not honest and muddying the water. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. That's how blatantly dishonest they are. When you go through the newspapers, if you go to court, listen to what some of these judges are telling you that's so unbiased and dirty, and you think, we got a constitution. They're not supposed to be doing that. They're supposed to be unbiased in their hearings. And this wasn't a personal problem. It affected you. Now let's look at, he said I was involved in another incident where somebody was killed. And I terminated that pursuit before that person was killed because it was so dangerous. That has nothing to do with anything. Why would he bring that up? He's trying to make me look bad that I was out here and people are getting killed. People are still getting killed every day by drunk driving wrecks. If it is your job to enforce the law to get drunk drivers off there, that's one of your main responsibilities according to the Department of Safety, then you're going to be in around bad wrecks. I mean, drunk people wreck. And they do all the time. And you can't hold the trooper responsible because he's in and around where drunks are, because that's where he's supposed to be, and he gets more off the road than any trooper in the state. Of course he's going to be in and around drunk drivers. And sometimes he can't protect them. I mean, sometimes they won't stop. Sometimes they crash. But his job is to be in and around them, and to blame me for doing my job, really? He's had rulings where he's adjudicated falsely against people. Should I have brought up that? I did in the second hearing. So they blamed me for another pursuit on Chapman Highway when the lady was on the wrong side of the road. She would have crashed into an innocent person head on, had a not intervened most likely. She went at such a high rate of speed down Chapman Highway that I terminated the pursuit because it started raining. I did nothing wrong, but why does he want to bring that up? So somebody died and you were in a pursuit, try to muddy like I'm, really? Judge Barker, he's answering to God in heaven now for what he did. So it says here, and the news even did this, the newspaper did this. They put out that pursuit on Chapman Highway and put my name that I'd been in pursuit, that I'd terminated the pursuit. But look at here recently what they did about a pursuit just happened the other day and the trooper involved. They don't mention the trooper's name. He was in pursuit of somebody that an innocent person got killed, not the person that was running that was guilty. An innocent passenger in the seat that had no ability to stop the car or do anything got killed in a pursuit just a few days ago. So look at this pursuit here. Look at this here. KPD seeks trooper video of pursuit of car and fatal crash. It says, according to the XP spoke to Mike Browning, Trooper Charles Van Morgan observed the Mitsubishi traveling in the wrong lane. Browning said the Mitsubishi then stopped at Family Dollar store where, before speeding off more than 100 miles per hour, because of speed, Van Morgan decided to stop pursuing Keck's car. He said, okay, right. So she was driving so dangerously that I am pursuing, but they still include my name in there. See that? Trooper Charles Van Morgan. Some people see things differently, so they're putting me out in the public. Department of Safety. Evidently it's Department of Danger for me. I was in the Department of Danger. Put my name out there for protecting the public. Wow, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? I wasn't on the top of their cronyism scale, so they'd hang out a trooper, wouldn't they? Yeah, and unless you got family and friends. But let's look just a few days ago, November 26th. And yeah, there's ringing the bell. That's what Barker did, ring the bell. Can you unhear that? After he said that I was involved in another pursuit, that's a pursuit I was involved in, that I ended the pursuit because she was driving so safely. She probably would have killed herself without me being there. I made the best effort I could. I didn't want to endanger other people. On wet roads, I could have slid out of control and hit an innocent person. So I made a wise decision. I was out doing my job. I could have been at McDonald's or been at my friend's house or been at the courthouse soliciting women for sex, which is what Howard Greenlee was doing. But I was out doing my job. I should be praised for that. But they're criticizing me for doing my job. You see the flip in that? And the corruption would put my name there. Somebody could have said, well, he caused somebody to get killed and tried to hurt me or my kids. But they put my name out there because I'm not an influential family donor of the Tennessee Department of Public Danger. So I'm just telling you the difference, showing you black and white. Now, I know what they tell you to believe. I'm telling you the facts and the way to look at it in reality. And they're telling you that the affordability problem is just a natural progression. No, it's not. It's a progression because of people in government power. So that's a pursuit in 2018 that Mr. Barker mentioned had nothing to do with anything. Highway Patrol investigated that and cleared me. They didn't clear me on the other one because I'd made a complaint against Sergeant Lion Little Russell. And I had a different supervisor, a different captain. So they had a pursuit the other day. That pursuit, same car, I terminated pursuit. The person that was driving killed herself. Unfortunately, I hate that. That's sad. Very sad. She made a fatal mistake. And sad, but she didn't hit anybody else. I terminated the pursuit, did nothing wrong. They had a pursuit the other day, November 26th, Knoxville. One person is dead after a police station in East Knoxville, according to a report from the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Now look at this. This is just a few days ago. Same thing, except for an innocent person got killed. Me, several years ago, no one got killed, and they put my name in there. Really? You know, who's connected here? So they put the picture of the violator. He's the driver of the car that ran from a trooper. They put his picture in there. This lady ran from me. He didn't get killed. His passenger got killed. This lady ran from me. They don't put her picture. They put her crashed car and put my name. Put my name. Wow. This trooper here was in pursuit of this car. He's the driver. Put his name. And don't put the trooper's name. Wow, they don't put the trooper's name in this one. My name right here, Trooper Charles Van Morgan. And I did nothing wrong. And the lady that I was pursuing got killed. Knoxville, Tennessee. One person is dead after a police station in East Knoxville. According to a report from the Tennessee Highway Patrol, it happened around 11 p.m. on Friday, November the 14th. According to the documents obtained by WVLT News, when a THP trooper tried to stop a car driven by Dwayne Fuentrell at North Chestnut Street and Martin Luther King Jr. The report says Fluent cut off another car, almost causing a crash. And the passenger in the car died. Notice they don't have the trooper's name. They don't have the Tennessee Highway Patrol's trooper name in that. The driver survived, the passenger died. Similar to my situation, he was in pursuit and he terminated the pursuit. But a passenger died, not the driver. They don't tell you the trooper's name. Isn't that amazing? And Judge Barker brings that up, that I was in pursuit of somebody, and brings my name up. In this same incident just a few days ago, they don't bring up the trooper's name. They protect that trooper and hung me out to dry and even use it against me when it has nothing to do with anything, because he was in pursuit of somebody that the passenger died. He was in pursuit. He cut off the pursuit because the guy's driving so dangerously. The guy ends up going down the road. The passenger, he has a wreck. The passenger dies. His name's not in here. I was in pursuit. I ended the pursuit because the car was going at such a high rate of speed. It was dangerous, and I ended pursuit. The driver of the car, the person that killed herself, died. They put my name in there. They don't put this trooper's name in there. And Judge Barker uses that against me in a hearing to get my law license by ringing the bell. Says it has nothing to do with that. Well, then why'd you mention it to ring the bell? Because he's a dirty judge. He was. Let's look at this. And then they put my name in the picture. They put my picture while I was out on the road in pursuit, like a thug out on the road. Now, I didn't hit anybody, didn't hit anybody, didn't kill anybody. Put my picture out there. They got him in jail clothes, so yeah. But put my name, put my picture out there. I didn't hit anybody. He killed his passenger. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't hit anybody, didn't do anything wrong. They lied on me. They have my name all over the place, don't they? Have my name trying to hang me out, trying to make it dangerous. And I've got kids too. They made it dangerous for my kids. So these judges are crooked people in the state of Tennessee. Let's look at Judge Salone. Judge Salone that had a bad drinking problem. And he was killed at a 2-point-something alcohol level. He was killed in Jefferson County on 2570, and it's because he had Well, he had a bad drinking problem. He had a bad drinking problem, Judge Sloan did. Let's talk about one of the judicial. And I'll ring the bell, something true. Now, he was driving and he wrecked his car, evidently, because the tire was flat. So he gets out of his car because he's hit something. He's had a wreck. He gets out of his car and he's walking along the highway, and he gets run over and hit by a car. Now, he's probably been drunk and driving a lot, but he's not been arrested because he's a judge. So he died, and his alcohol level time he died was 0.25%. Judge Dwayne Sloan, he served as a circuit judge for the 4th Judicial District until his death in 2024. An autopsy report stated his death resulted from blunt trauma after being struck by a car, and he had an acute alcohol intoxication level of 0.256 at the time. That's more than 3 times the legal limit. Now, do you think that's the first time he was stopped or had a wreck and was intoxicated? I don't think so. I think he's probably stopped a lot, and he got by with it because he's a judge, and he had power and influence. And that night he's had a wreck. I don't know that for a fact, but I know I was given a verbal warning one time for writing a newspaper reporter a ticket. So it was well known, and still to this day in the Highway Patrol, that people in power, people with influence, you give them a break, and if you don't, we'll give you a verbal warning. So Judge Sloan had a wreck, evidently, because his car was disabled. The trooper that investigated says his car smelled like alcohol. He's just telling the truth because they know they're going to check his blood. And he stumbled on the highway, and somebody ran over him while he was walking down the highway, and he was killed in his 0.256 alcohol level. So he was a drunk. At least that night he was drunk. Now they praise him in the judicial system. They're not going to run down the judge. They're not going to ring the bell on the judge. Now, that came out scientifically. His most important contribution to our judicial system was his groundbreaking work to combat the effects of opioid addiction in those who appeared before him. Those efforts led to countless citizens recovering from addiction and returned to lead so productive lives. So they're praising him for helping drug addicts. He was evidently had at least a problem that night that got him killed with alcohol. So it doesn't matter what these people do. Read between the lines. He was drunk that night, and maybe drunk on several occasions, maybe drunk in court. But they say he helped countless people from opioid addiction. He had, I mean, give me a break, really? Even when they died drunk because of their intoxication after they have a wreck, they praise these people, these dirty Tennessee judiciary who lived off taxpayer money. You know, this is unreal. And somebody that's out protecting the public from alcohol abuse gets slammed, and the judge rings the bell. Even though the pursuit I was in that I terminated, that somebody was highly intoxicated to that killed herself, they mention my name. And when I'm trying to get my law license, they bring that up, which has nothing to do with nothing, but they want you to know that people died in pursuits that I had terminated, which is common. That's not nothing big. Just the other day, I showed you that news article that a trooper, they didn't even mention his name, was involved in a pursuit that terminated pursuit, and not the driver died, the innocent passenger died in the pursuit. They don't even name the trooper's name. So our courts and our judiciary is honest and fair and upright, and they're not the cause of the affordability problem. The affordability problem is the Tennessee judiciary. That's the problem. It's not a problem of affordability. It's a problem. Affordability is caused by the judiciary in the state of Tennessee. That's the problem. Don't worry about your food prices. Get rid of the judiciary and your food prices will go down. vote people out of office and your food prices go down, because they're exploiting you, exploiting judicial systems, lying to you, keeping people in power, making rulings against the Constitution. And that's your affordability problem. Your affordability problem is the Tennessee judiciary. That's the problem. Don't worry about the food prices. Vote these people out of office and that problem will go away. I assure you. That's what I think. Now, I told you earlier in the video, if you're just joining us, I showed a picture of Calhoun's on the river. We're talking about affordability today. Showed you Calhoun's on the river. I showed you Thompson Bowling Arena. So those are significant places which you need to be aware of. I was going to talk about them later on in the video. So now's the time we're going to talk about those two places. Thompson Bowling Arena and we're going to talk about Thompson Bowling Arena, and we're going to talk about Calhoun's on the river. And we're going to tie that together and tell you what's going on in simple terms about the affordability problem. It's going to answer your affordability problem. So I posted a video the other day. I already got some bad comments. It really hurts my feelings. It don't hurt my feelings. Trust me, it don't hurt my. Thank you for your bad comments. I appreciate them. They help out. So your affordability problem is the Tennessee judiciary and people in government power. They're your affordability problem. Now, I got some bad comments about. I said the unconfirmed report I got about Major Stacey Heatherly and Lieutenant Jamie Johnson living in Nashville off your tax money. The state of Tennessee apparently unconfirmed. I'm trying to confirm it, but I got a text message, and I'm not revealing sources. Thank you for your giving me information. But I had a text message last Tuesday. Told me Lieutenant Heatherly and Lieutenant Jamie Johnson being housed at a hotel in Nashville by taxpayers. Now I'll just show you the text. Now I haven't confirmed it, but he or she is confirming this from somebody with inside information. Now I'm not confirming it because I don't have the inside information that this person has, but they do, and the state is notoriously covered stuff up. I filed a complaint for Stacey Heatherly saying that she had military service and didn't, and they promoted her. I filed a complaint through Internal Affairs saying that Lieutenant at the time was working on duty when she was on workers' compensation, not supposed to work. And I haven't got a response back. I filed another complaint the other day, information asking them, not a complaint, asking them for a response, because according to their general orders, they're supposed to tell me what the result of that complaint is. I sent them evidence, documented, CAD logs. We paid several $100s to get inside information about Captain Stacey Heatherly. She's not chasing me. She thought she was, and I'm not chasing her violence. She's violent. She's got violence on her complaint on her record for being violent. I would advise her, don't go there. Perfectly capable of defending myself. It'd be a bad day for you and whoever your entourage is. I assure you that I got every right, God-given right, to defend myself, and I damn sure will. So that's your warning. If you don't heed it, I feel bad for you. Let me speak. You want to speak against me? You already have. Go ahead. Doesn't bother me. You're not looking for me. I'm on the way after you, honestly and justifiably. So, I'm just saying, these people are foolish. So that's ringing the bell. Now, I'm not ringing the bell. I'm telling you the truth. It's stuff that is admissible in a court of law, in politics, to the public. That's the wonderful thing about politics and not being in a courtroom. In a courtroom, there's rules of evidence that you can't bring in everything in the kitchen sink in a courtroom. Evidence is anything that can prove or disprove a matter at issue. That's relevant evidence, but not all relevant evidence is admissible in a courtroom due to issues of fairness. Now, that's a courtroom boxed off. They won't let me do that. That's fine. Hey, okay, I'll practice my art of persuasion and truth out here on the road because I'm a lot more truthful than they are. The thing about it is there's no court rules out here. It's called politics. It's called persuasion. It's called telling the public the truth. And in a courtroom, you can't bring in all evidence subject to court rules. For example, in a courtroom, you can't bring in evidence that's unfairly prejudicial. Now, all evidence is prejudicial, but it can't be unfairly prejudicial. For example, you can't bring in 1,000 pictures of the crime scene, the bloody crime scene. The defense is going to object to that because the jury is going to say, well, look at all that blood and guilt, blood and gruesome. We're going to convict somebody of that, even if that person didn't it. Somebody's got to pay for that. So it's unfairly prejudicial. Now, they'll let you bring in about 10 pictures of the crime scene, maybe. They won't let you bring in 1,000 pictures because it's considered unfairly prejudicial. It might bias the jury into thinking that horrible crime scene, somebody's going to jail over that, even if it's not the person that's on trial for it. So it can be construed as unfairly prejudicial. So those are courtroom rules. That's fine. I'm not in a courtroom. They won't let me go in a courtroom. I would have abided by their courtroom rules. This is the world. This is wide open. I'm subject to defamation laws, and I don't defame people. Defamation is false communication. Unprivileged false communication. Disseminated to at least third person that tends to lower somebody in the standing of the community that makes other people not want to deal with them. This is truthful information based on fact. And in a courtroom, you can't bring in all information, even if it's the truth, because of unfairly prejudicial. And that's to be completely lopsided. But in the world of public opinion, in politics, you can be very unfairly prejudicial. And just because it's unfairly prejudicial doesn't mean it's the truth. It means it's not a courtroom. They're very unfairly prejudicial to me. They're bringing in stuff in a courtroom that doesn't even belong in a courtroom, just like Judge Barker brought in a previous pursuit that is not allowed in a courtroom. He knows it's not because he said we're not here for that, but he rang the bell. In the public, you can ring that bell. It's up for you to decide if I'm being unfairly prejudicial, and you can be unfairly prejudicial. So I'm just telling you, they're not after me, I'm after them. And I'm very prejudicial against them, truthfully. This is not a courtroom. This is about them having power they don't deserve. This is about them doing stuff against you that harms you, that's a danger to you, and I'm trying to prevent that. So it's not unfair. It's just 100 pictures of the crime scene. I'm about to show it. This is not a courtroom. This is worldwide, all over the world. You need to know this. And there's no court rules out here. So I'm just presenting you the evidence, hundreds of crime scene photographs against these people, so to speak. So listen up. We'll show you the gruesome details by the masses, black and white. So here's what I got about Heatherly and Lieutenant Jamie. That's why I say it's not confirmed. It was confirmed. It's by him, but I'm not saying it's confirmed. But it's a very credible inside source that told me this, how she's benefiting off your tax money. She makes over $100,000 a year as major, probably close to $200,000 a year. She lives in East Tennessee, and she got promoted to major. And the other lieutenant, I don't know where he lives, Jamie Johnson, Lieutenant Colonel Jamie Johnson, but they don't live in Nashville, but they have to go to Nashville because that's where their administration is. That's where they decide how to rig the wreck that happened in Maryville, where a state trooper hit another police officer. They got to figure out how to make the highway patrol look good, although they didn't train somebody right or something happened bad. Or they got to figure out how they're going to blame it on the Maryville police officer instead of the highway patrol. You think they figure out how to tell you what happened in the facts. No, they figure out how to make the government look good and how to protect themselves and how to protect their good old boys. So like, share, comment, thank you all, and send a super chat. Help me stay on the air. So fund the channel, Unbridled News. So I put out that unconfirmed that she's staying in a hotel when she has to go to Nashville to rig Rex, to rig the public's perception of Rex, not to come out with the truth, to rig the public's perception, to make the highway patrol look good, to lie about stuff. They're already putting out mechanical error. Nobody's at fault. The machine broke down. No, somebody's at fault. A state trooper hit another police officer. So they're going out to Nashville. Unconfirmed is that she is staying in a hotel, leaving her house here in East Tennessee, going to Nashville, and the state's paying for her a hotel so where she can go and mismanage and mislead the public. I know that for a fact. I've seen her. She's also violent. She's got a complaint of violence on her system. I've met her personally. She's a violent, dangerous person. So, and I'm going to tell you about Calhoun's and UT and about affordability. Tying this all together, wrapping it up. This is one example showing you the blood, gore, and guts. Black and white, not unfairly prejudicial. It's the truth. This ain't a courtroom. They won't let me go there. After I get done, they'll wish they'd let me in the courtroom because there's some courtroom rules. I'm under defamation laws. This is not defamation, it's the damn truth. So, she was in Nashville in a hotel room where she's supposed to pay for that or move to Nashville. She's moved to Nashville. Or if she drives out there and chooses to stay at home, live in her home, she's got to pay for hotel rooms to go out there. That's on her. She makes over $100,000 a year. But somebody reported to me, instead of her paying for her hotel rooms when she goes out there, that the state has written her a hotel room, and Lieutenant Colonel Jamie Johnson written them a hotel room. They're not supposed to do that. That's your tax money paying for something that they're not in, it's not part of the benefits. Now they'll probably change the rules and let them do that now, but they change the rules to benefit themselves. But that is not part of the benefit program. They got to either move to Nashville and pay for it themselves, or if they drive out there from their hometown, they're supposed to pay for their own lodging, according to the rules of the Department of Safety. Now, if they want to change the rules, they need to put out to the public, explain to them why they're paying these rich people already, rich people's hotel rooms. Can you afford a hotel room in Nashville? So I got a text message telling me that. That's how I got that information. Here's the text message. Tuesday, 2/29, last two, Heatherly and Lieutenant Jamie Johnson was being housed at a hotel in Nashville by taxpayers. Command staff members are supposed to live in Nashville or pay for their own lodging. Now, after being caught, they are supposedly staying at the academy. This bunch is something else. So that's a text I got, and I'm not divulging the source. Again, Heatherly and Lieutenant Jamie Johnson was being housed at a hotel in Nashville by taxpayers. Command staff members are supposed to live in Nashville or pay for their own lodging. Now, after being caught, they are supposedly staying at the academy. This bunch is something else. So that's a text message I got. That's why I put that out, because of the information I got from somebody that knows, Stacey Heatherly, and I know her too. And I don't know that other lieutenant, but so they're being funded and getting a benefit that they don't deserve. Affordability. They don't have to worry about affordability because it's not an issue with them. You pay for their stuff. If they have hotel bills, they don't have to worry about how expensive a hotel is. You pay for their hotel bills, even when you're not supposed to. So affordability is not an issue for them. It's more tax money that pays for what they do. So I told you about Stacey Heatherly. And let me just mention this, and they wouldn't give me my law license. I'm out here on the road presenting my case to the public. They gave a foreigner a law license. We'll continue about Heatherly, the Calhoun's and the Thompson Bowling Arena, significant places for her that hurt you, that benefit her. So a lawyer that doesn't have a birth certificate from the United States, doesn't have a selective service registration from the United States where you're registered to fight for this country to keep courthouse doors open. Lawyers and also the University of Tennessee wrote this lawyer letters to the judges, to Barker and the judges, to help him get a law license because he benefits financially the University of Tennessee. Now, I graduated from the University of Tennessee, but I did not get the University of Tennessee to write me a letter to help me get my law license. They wouldn't have done it. But Mr. Guzman didn't even graduate from the University of Tennessee. He's not even an alumnus. But the University of Tennessee wrote him a letter to the Board of Law Examiners, to the judges, to Judge Barker, to try to help him get a law license, because they get money, a lot of money, great benefit to foreign attorneys to help them get licensed. So I'll just show you the proof of that right here. So it says here, and let's see if we can get 60 likes while I'm reading this. It says here that Tennessee law firms and companies who have hired foreign trained lawyers have greatly benefited and continue to benefit from hiring those students as Tennessee increasingly becomes a global hub for international business. Yeah. So also the judiciary, the judges in Tennessee, there's an increasing shortage of attorneys who have necessary skills to work and refugee. Bilingual, competent attorneys are a critical component of access to justice. So the attorneys in Tennessee benefit businesses, corporations, worldwide corporations. So they benefit from getting money from foreign attorneys and foreign companies. So that's one reason, and the University of Tennessee wrote them a letter because they benefit financially from these 2-year cop-out law schools. They get a lot of foreign attorneys, they get a lot of foreign money. So they wrote a letter for Mr. Guzman. The University of Tennessee wrote a letter for Mr. Guzman, an amicus brief to the Board of Law Examiners, Tennessee Supreme Court, to try to help a foreign attorney get their law license, even though he didn't ever attended the University of Tennessee. But they have that school, they benefit financially from foreign attorneys. So they wrote a letter to benefit him, but he never went to that school. But a graduate of the University of Tennessee, they didn't write me a letter, and he's not even an alumnus. So they won't even take care of your alumnus. So what we have here is, the last thing is Lieutenant Heatherly at the time. Now she's a major, and she's already been involved in raping you of your finances and affordability problem. She was at Calhoun's on the River. I showed you a picture of that earlier. Calhoun's on the River, drunk, with her husband and their other THP drinking buddy. So it's about a drinking friendship in the Highway Patrol. After a football game at Calhoun's on the River, she called an on-duty trooper sergeant to come down to Calhoun's while she was drunk and pick her up and take her home. So she called a trooper using state resources for herself. A trooper that could have been out helping somebody change a flat tire, could have been out stopping somebody going down the interstate drunk driving. She later got hit by a drunk driver. She doesn't think it's important. So she called a on-duty trooper, sergeant, to pick her up and drive her home with a state patrol car. So what a farce, using state tax money. Now somebody seen her do that and reported it. Of course, it was an outrage to the public, so they suspended her for 1 day for using state resources. drive herself home. You think that's the only time that that's happened? I doubt that. So here's the article. Tennessee lieutenant to serve 1-day suspension for ride from trooper. A Tennessee Highway Patrol lieutenant will be suspended for a day without pay next month after she sought a ride while off duty from a trooper because she had been drinking. So she is getting a trooper to drive her home using state resources. That costs money. It costs tax money. That's your affordability problem. She's not worried about the affordability of a taxi or even the affordability of a rideshare service. She doesn't have to pay it. She uses your state resources. So the state's not worried about, people in the government service aren't worried about affordability. That happens all the time. She just happened to get caught that time. They do that all the time. Use state resources. The commissioner of the Department of Safety at that time was using state troopers to drive him from close to his house all the way in West Tennessee near Shelby County all the way to Nashville using state troopers. He wasn't even driving, using state troopers to drive. About 2 state trooper cars, even getting protection from the Highway Patrol, using state troopers as taxis. Commissioner Bill Gibbons, who put people in jail for stealing, but he's stealing tax money illegitimately. He should have lived in Nashville. So they do that commonly, use their state resources, and they don't have an affordability problem. They don't understand your problems. They don't understand the cost of food. You pay for their food, you pay for their transportation, you pay for their travel, you pay for their drunken parties and their friends' drunken parties. You pay for everything to people. They don't understand that you can't afford to buy food because they can afford to buy food because you buy their food. That's the truth. That's what she did. She got 1 day off because she got caught. How many times has that happened before or since then? Now, her excuse was, this is alarming. She got 1 day off, and here's her own writing. I mean, I'm not putting words in her mouth, quoted in quotation marks. I take full responsibility for my actions October of last year, and I accept disciplinary action taken by my department. So really, that's what she says. I take full responsibility for my actions in October last year, and I accept the disciplinary action taken by my department. Okay, is that true? I take full responsibility for my actions, accept the department's discipline. So that's what she says. But then she goes on. To, I accept responsibility, but I don't. So which one is that? You accept responsibility. That was a horrible thing you did to take taxpayer money for your own resources while you were out drunk at a party, and even your friends and family, and even calling a trooper on duty that should have been out protecting other people's lives. And it was a horrible thing you did. And you should have got a day off, maybe more, and you'll never let that happen again. It was a horrible thing you did to use tax resources when the affordability problem is outrageous. So we got a train hitting a siren. So we got an affordability problem, and it's train go by, and it was a horrible thing I did. I won't do it again. Very bad. Accept responsibility. Never let it happen again. Should have never done that. It was awful. Mistreating the public, stealing money from the taxpayers. I'm so sorry and apologetic, and I'll take my time off and never let it happen again. That's what accepting responsibility is, right? But what does she say? What does she say? Her own words. Her own words were, I take full responsibility for my actions in October of last year, and I accept the discipline action taken by my department, Lieutenant Stacey Headley said in a statement released by 10 News through the State Department of Safety. I believe my decision to contact a co-worker for a designated ride, however, was the best alternative at the time. I would rather live with this disciplinary action than with the possibility consequences of driving after consuming alcohol. So she says that I take full responsibility, but let me excuse, it was a good decision. It was a good decision that I made to use your tax money. So that's not taking full responsibility and accepting the damage what you done. She said that was a good thing to do in light of all alternatives. There was another alternative, is to call yourself a taxi. She's saying that's the only alternative, is to use state resources, to use your tax money and cause your affordability to go up, and her to live off you for nothing. She says that was a good decision. That's the way they think. I take full responsibility, but I don't, because it was a good decision to take your tax money, and your affordability is an issue to me, but it's never an issue to me, because that's my only alternative, is to take to use your money for my affordability for a drunken party. So tomorrow, wow, that's what they think. That's what they think. So like, share, comment, send a chat. So that's their affordability. She didn't take responsibility. She said that's the only alternative was to use your tax money to pay for my drunken party. So that's not taking responsibility, is it? That is, in their mind, and these people in government service, judges and all, in their mind, the only alternative that they have is to use your money, because they can't afford stuff on their own. Even though they make hundreds of thousands of dollars, they don't care that you can't afford anything. You can't turn to state tax money. So her only alternative is to use your tax money, so it's completely understandable that she did that. Instead of driving drunk, she could have used her own money and not called the state trooper. But that's how these people think, in their own words. So she was over here at the University of Tennessee. I went to try to find a job because she took my job away from me. She has no education whatsoever at all. So I went to a job fair at Thompson Bowling Arena to try to get a job, because I have a master's degree in criminology. I'm a graduate of the University of Tennessee, and she took my job away from me. So I was going over here to Thompson Bowling Arena to a job fair. And what do you know? Lieutenant Stacey Headley had a box set up for THPP recruiting. So she's trying to recruit people for the Tennessee Highway Patrol at Thompson Bowling Arena. Now, I already told you about Calhoun's on the River, how she was there drinking, and just right down the street at Thompson Bowling Arena, I went there to try to find a job because I had a master's degree, a graduate from UT. She's not a graduate from UT. She's not a graduate from any college. She's not a graduate from any emergency management class. She's not a graduate from any specialized training in public safety. Doesn't have any significant education in protecting the public. Any education she has gotten has been special training in how to protect the elite. So I went to Thompson Bowling Arena, tried to get a job after she lied on me because I had a Master of Arts. She set up a table over there with a sergeant trying to recruit people with an education like me to work for the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Even though she was not in there, I was given access because I was a graduate of UT. She was given access because she is a crooked supervisor with THPP. So they're recruiting college graduates at the University of Tennessee, and they don't have a degree. And the degree I had, she tried to ruin my education by saying that I'm not honest. So your hard work and dedication and your effort that should be rewarded with the promotion and signification in the Highway Patrol is put down and destroyed by somebody who has no education. So that's what these people in government power do. They destroy the education that you have. So she was over here at Thompson Bowling Arena, had up a table recruiting for the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Now I went to that recruiting event to try to get a job because she took my job from me, lying on me, using state resources to take my job from me. She was right down the street a few years later using state resources to drive her and her drunken party home. I went to the job resource as a UT graduate, Master of Arts in Criminology, which I know what a criminal is, a criminal Stacey Heatherly. So she was there, set up a table, recruiting college graduates to go to work for the Tennessee Highway Patrol because they want very well-educated, smart people to bolster the department to make it look better. But she has no education. She doesn't know what she's doing. And she got her position by lying, protecting people in the establishment. So she's there recruiting people to try to ruin their degree while she has none. And the sergeant hollered at me and asked me how I was doing. And I told him, he hollered at me. I told him, I said, well, I'm not doing very well. You know, y'all lied on me and took my job, thanks to Miss Heatherly here. And she yelled at me, get out of here. You know, I had a right to be there. She didn't. She wasn't a graduate there. So I left. I said, you know, I'm just telling the truth. I'm leaving. You gotta get mad. I'm just telling the truth. And I'm just telling the truth today. So they will use your knowledge and your education and your hard work, exploit that, and they're still trying to get people in the door with an education when they have none. They have none. They've got a degree in corruption by self-educated, and they're crooked, wicked, evil people. So I ran into her at Thompson Bowling Arena trying to get a job, and they're trying to recruit people, and they will further ruin what you have worked for, make your work of none effect, make your work useless and worthless. While they have no education, they're given a seat at the table to recruit people that they will ruin if you don't do what they tell you to do and kiss the ring and lie for the brass. So that at Calhoun's, she used state government service to take her and her drunken party home. Wouldn't even got suspended except for somebody caught her. How many other times has she done that? At Thompson Bowling Arena, she was there, I was there to try to get a job, and she ruined my education and made it of none effect, and she has none, and she's further recruiting people. And if you don't do exactly what they say and lie for the establishment, they'll ruin what you've earned and that they haven't earned. So she shouldn't even been at the table there advertising, recruiting for the Highway Patrol. Because I told people, go get a job with them. I've got a degree, and they ruined my degree where it's of no effect. So that's what they'll do. So what I'm saying is, the affordability problem. The affordability problem is a problem with people in government power that get stuff that they haven't worked for. She didn't work for a degree, didn't earn a degree, shouldn't have a degree. They get stuff that they haven't worked for, haven't earned, doesn't belong to them, and then they take what you've learned and worked for, and even if you're good for society, even if you're good for public safety, they take that away from you, and they benefit off your hard work and get stuff that they don't deserve and haven't worked for. So they destroy people in government power, and that's just one example. People in government power destroy your hard work and dedication. They destroy what you've worked and earned for, and they benefit off of it. They benefit off of it. Like Stacey Heatherly was benefiting off the University of Tennessee, benefiting off of students at the University of Tennessee by recruiting them into Highway Patrol. She was a lieutenant, now she's a major, has no education, has no substantial knowledge of how to keep people safe. So she's benefiting off people at the University of Tennessee. Hasn't never went to school, hasn't learned there, hasn't studied there, hasn't done anything to deserve that. And ruining people's degrees, ruining their hard work that won't go along with her promotions, with her living off state tax money unjustifiably. Two situations there. And even when she got caught, she said she accepted responsibility, and then went on to say that she made a good decision, that was the best thing to do. Doesn't understand the full consequences. And that's the way these people in government power think. They think that you owe them a living, and they think that your hard work and your dedication means nothing, and they will take away from you what you have earned, what you deserve and what you got, and they will take what you've earned and you deserved and you got when they haven't earned and deserved it, and they will make your hard work and education work against you of no consequence. So that's the status of people in government power. Your affordability problem is a problem of people in government power. And here's the beautiful view. It is not a beautiful view of Knoxville. So there's Calhoun's on the river. Right there. That's where she called a taxi and said that it was the best decision to make to exploit your tax money, to use a trooper on the road to take her home. And right over here is Thompson Bowling Arena. That's where she was trying to recruit college graduates, me, to exploit them, and if they don't agree that she should exploit you, then she will destroy the degree that you've earned, although she has none. She will live in Nashville off your tax money, although she has the money and supposed to pay for her own living. So that your affordability problem is a problem with people in government power, with people that have lied to you that you voted for. Your affordability problem is Governor Bill Lee. That's your affordability problem. If you want things to be affordable, then vote these people out of office. Vote them out. That will solve the affordability problem. If you want to be able to buy milk, if you want to be able to buy diapers, if you want to be able to buy food for your children, then don't worry about the food prices. Don't worry about the diaper prices, because they're not going to go down until we vote these crooks and these thugs and these wicked people out of our public offices. And then, because they're exploiting you, they're ruining the government, and they're using the government, using your tax money to provide for themselves. And somebody has to pay for that, and you pay for that. So we'll be back on here tomorrow. We'll continue the dialogue about affordability, and also if there's some more news come on, we'll continue to present the news. Thank y'all so very much for listening. May God bless you all, I pray. And remember, affordability. The problem is people in government power. Vote them out. and your prices will go down. Charles Van Morgan, like, share, comment, spread the message, and got overwhelming views today. So we're up to 1.3 million people have listened to this message. Thank you all so very much. We appreciate your time. We are fighting people in